Oops, I got my coffee blocking there. I didn't mean to do that. So we do have a special guest this morning. I do want to take a moment to share a little bit about my business, what I do, in that some of you I know are brand new to learning of me. You're special guests learning about my community, etc. So I want to take a moment to talk about that. My husband and I and my eldest son have been in business together for 10 plus years. We formed our company September of 2006. I've come from a home of educators. Both my parents were teachers. So everything I have done in life, I'm teaching. I was a sports coach for 15 years. Together for 10 plus years. Hold on, says Miguel. Both my parents were teachers.
That's going to create all sorts of problems if you don't.
Bingo! Miguel got it. Okay. So anyways, so my parents have been teachers. I was a sports coach for 15 years. I love teaching people. I love the whole process of learning and how do we optimize it. So then I come into the business world as a marketer. Now prior to that, we had done several businesses. We had a windshield replacement business for 12 years. We did real estate investment. And any business you're in has its pros and cons, no matter what. You don't ever end up in a place where there's just no problems, or you don't have to learn or any such thing. So I took my background of previous business experience and then education, and it's all come together in this space. So we've been here 10 years. This is what we established as our mission statement, is to help sellers in the e-commerce space establish relationships with wholesalers, make wise purchasing decisions, and scale the e-commerce platform of their choice through our practical workshops, state-of-the-art online training systems, and highly relational e-commerce business school community. All right, we provide training. Is there other training out there? Yes. Loads! And I would never, ever kid or fool myself to think that I have it all. It's impossible, right? There's so much to learn. But here is where I feel I very, very much differentiate from the rest of the product offerings and trainings and events and everything else that's out there in the e-commerce space. It is about being in a business community of like-minded people who are on the same path in the journey to reach financial freedom, whatever your specific goals are. I really feel that is what makes us uniquely different. It's best exemplified in our e-commerce master's program. My goal and my hope for you is that you fall in love with our community, and this is the place where you want to have be your home base. Our e-com master's program members, they're buying other programs, they're going to other events, but I like to consider that they consider this their home base, where they feel safe, they feel secure, they feel respected. And that's what I heard when I was speaking with people yesterday. They're concerned about these kind of things. And that's the culture and the environment that I create here. A community of respect. We're all going through highs and lows. We all have different personal challenges and issues. But here you can be respected for wherever you're at in your business for the long term, and we're here to support you. That's my goal for you. Does that sound like a good goal? So you're going to learn more about the e-commerce master's program this afternoon and hear from some of my folks that are in, we call it EMP for short. And so this now leads me to our next speaker, speaking of safe and secure and respected, and that you gain knowledge, information, so that you can come into this space more in the know than being blindsided. Have you ever been blindsided? You thought you were moving in the right direction, and boom, you were broadsided. We don't want that to happen. So my son has called in from Ningbo, China, and I think we're all connected up. And what we're going to cover are the challenges that can exist sourcing from China, that being a unique situation, okay? Some of you are already sourcing here in the States, wholesaling. Can you raise your hand if you are doing some wholesaling? Okay, that looks to be about 3/4 of the room. Some folks not there yet. You're doing local retail arbitrage and the like, but most of you will evolve there because that's where you get the scale. I think Mike Farrell said yesterday, I got a job I got to get out of, as he's doing local retail arbitrage and he's looking for freedom and scale. So how do we bring, there he is. Hey, so please welcome my son Robert Sieg from Ningbo, China. Yeah, this is just such a blessing. Did not see this coming. Been doing this for 10 years. He says, Mom, I want to move to China. And I got in there in full support of him to do that. As a young man, around 22, 23, I can't recall. So I asked Robert to, first of all, give you folks a little background about who he is and what he does in China, and you're maybe even wondering, why would a young person up and move to China? I mean, do you kind of wonder that? Yeah. Didn't have any friends there, no connections, boom, lands in China. So Robert, thank you so much for being here. You are, if you guys watch the clock there, one is Ningbo time, and then the one further away is our time. We are 13 hours apart. So Robert, let's see how our sound quality is. Do you want to say hi to the folks?
Hi everyone, hope you can hear me. The sound quality pretty good for everybody?
There you go, beautiful. So why don't you share with the folks a little bit about your background, your story?
Yeah, well it kind of, living here surprised me just about as much as anybody else. I was looking at several other places to live in the world. This was back in 2009 when I was 23 or so. And I tell you what, I'm getting like an echo, so I wonder if I should put on headphones.
It's Rob. I'll take care of it.
Maybe I can share it. Well, I'll just keep going. So yeah, I was kind of feeling I was in the real estate industry, and I was feeling uncertain about where I was going to go, and I read a lot about China. One book in particular I read was by Jim Rogers. It was called A Bull in China, and I got really excited about how things were developing, how fast things happen in China, how many opportunities there are for foreigners, because there just aren't any. Yeah, actually, that's better. Now the echo's gone, so perfect. So I thought about what could I do, and I originally thought maybe I would just go over here and start teaching, but through through a happy coincidence, I found a distant family member who already had a business in China, and it was a trading business, like manufacturing and trading. So I ended up speaking with him a little bit about how to live in China, and he ended up offering me a job within his company. So it was a completely unexpected career turn for me. And anyway, I ended up, that's where I ended up in the trading industry. So that was about almost 5 years ago now. And so I was in one company for 4 years. This year I have switched to a new company, same industry, but yeah, I've been doing this for about 5 years. I've been learning Mandarin in my spare time, so I do speak Chinese a bit. I'm not, completely fluent, but I am conversant in Chinese. I don't know if you're still getting video, because I'm not seeing video on my end. I'm just going to stop because I'm not sure if I'm still on the screen.
Oh, yes, we see you. Can you hear me, Robert? We see you.
Oh, yeah? Okay, so
Yeah.
so you're good.
Yep, we see you.
and hear me. Okay. I'm just going to keep going, then if there's a problem, I'm going to look in the chat box because I don't see anything else.
Okay.
Okay? So yeah, that was so then through kind of another happy coincidence, it ended up being that my mother's business had the need for somebody who had expertise in doing business in China. So I was more than happy to step up and help everybody find product in China. So that's the Reader's Digest version. Yeah.
All right, and I apologize. Kurt, I have a directive for you. I need you to pick up Chris Green at the airport. I'm going to send you his phone number, and then you text him. Okay, he just landed. Sorry, folks. Okay, so Robert, I apologize, folks. I'm just trying to coordinate some transportation stuff here. So Robert, if you can give a background. Some of you met him at ASD. Maybe raise your hand if you did. Doug? Okay. Oh, actually, quite a few hands have gone up, Robert, that they did meet you at ASD. He did 5 presentations there while at ASD. And share a little bit of background relative to Well, one, why even go to China? Number one, well, is this just a crazy notion, or is there something behind this whole going to China to source as a big game changer? Then talk about some of the problems that people can run up against as they source from China.
Well, China is, I felt that it was important for me as a young person to get experience outside of the United States. And I felt that China was kind of the best place to do that, and probably maybe one of the most important areas of the world to become familiar with. As as things unfold, I think over the next few decades, and after that, I think it'll become more important to know how to speak Mandarin and know the Chinese business mindset. So I wanted to kind of do better for myself and sort of increase my skill set by living and working in China. I had no idea where this would end up leading, but as I say, there's many different paths, and I ended up on the manufacturing path. There were several others that I would have considered, but this is where I ended up. And China is sort of, I'd say the state of Chinese manufacturing today is where, say, Hong Kong was 15 years ago, Taiwan was 20 years ago, where Japan was 30 or 40 years ago. China has come from a place where, they were the brunt of all the jokes and all of the ridicule of people who would buy product in China, and you'd see the Made in China label, and it sort of had an effect of knowing that the product is crap and that the quality is not so good. To today, where Chinese manufacturing has reached a level where they're producing the top smartphones in the world, and not just making them for foreign corporations like Apple, but they're actually making their own, which are, some of them are even better than iPhones right now. Xiaomi is one of them. So the high, they still have the low labor pay, so the wages are still low to an extent, but their processes and technology and techniques have improved to such a degree that they're able to take on a lot more complicated products. So that's more to the advantage of everybody who wants to do business in China. It used to be, you would be limited to very simple products, and now you can, buy, your remote controlled drones from Chinese factories. So the doors are wide open now for anybody who wants to sell unique products on Amazon. I know that's what a lot of you are doing. You can find almost anything in China and have it be made correctly. And I say that only as a possibility, not as a guarantee, because there's a lot of things you have to know about how to buy product in China and how to avoid mistakes and to be able to spot a potential problem in the future, before it actually happens. And that's a lot of what I do. I've been helping clients as large as, multi-million-dollar companies, big brand names like Plano Fishing Goods, Rubbermaid, bath mats. I've done those kind of big brand products, and I've done stuff as small as Kickstarter projects where you have inventors, creating something new, totally, a product that has never existed before, and we take it from the design stage where it's just a 3D model or even just a sketch on a napkin, and bring it all the way to production and then eventually to the market. So I've done, small and large and everything in between, and each type of product and each type of business presents its own challenges. And so the type of business that most of you guys are involved with, and the types of products that most of you guys are involved with, have a unique set of problems that you have to overcome. And so I've written a manual to address the entire process and to inform you on how everything is done, and it's written specifically for you guys. and then today, is going to be a little kind of a snippet of what you can expect from our training programs. It's kind of how to do business in China for Amazon or online sellers. That's what I'm trying to package this as.
All right, awesome. Was that helpful? You have background on what he does? Okay, now, how many of you have ever looked into sourcing from China? You've gone out, whoa, okay, that's again 50-60% of the room. So if you can talk, Robert, about, so people can be more in the know, where are the potential pitfalls to, so they know proactively and not are just walking into a pit and unaware. So if you can just walk through, and I know you've talked on this at ASD, but to go through these different potential challenges to be aware of.
Yes. So as I understand, we're not having a slide. It's just me up on the screen.
Yeah, we don't have a slide. Yeah, but you can all take notes if you like.
Okay. So that's fine. So I can run through basically 6 different problems that I see that are sort of unique to the people who are doing online business and who are buying low MOQ orders, okay? Small minimum order quantities. People who do the large orders have their own problems. You guys have these problems that you have to deal with. So I try to educate you on what to expect. So for many reasons, if you are coming to a Chinese vendor and there's no relationship, and you try to present to them a purchase order or a business plan, because that's really what it is. It's a business plan of small, low MOQs, low minimum order quantities. So, 100 pieces of this or 200 pieces of that. What you're saying to them is, right now the order is small, but in the future I'm going to be ordering larger and larger orders, so stick with me, okay? Have faith in me, trust me. And that's a problem, because the way things work in China is not the way things work in the Western world. So there's a mentality of, if you have or don't have, they call it guanxi, which is a word that kind of describes relationships, favors, connections. It's kind of, there's no word in English for it, but it basically describes the ability to take advantage of a better business deal because you have a relationship with somebody. So if you come to a Chinese vendor and try to buy low amounts of product, you're going to be met with low enthusiasm, to put it, nicely. Low enthusiasm or no interest at all, because Chinese vendors, most of them won't have a relationship with you already, and so they're not going to see the potential in what you're trying to do. The second problem that you're going to have to overcome with is, even if you get past that first stage, Chinese suppliers will often sacrifice quality and production lead times, the time that it takes from A to Z to get the product made. They will kind of put you on the back burner in favor of a larger order or a larger client who they view as higher priority. So you kind of always have to be, on top of the vendor, pushing them, reminding them, making sure that they're on task to make sure that you aren't going to receive your product late or, in a less, the quality isn't as good as what you want it to be. So that can be a huge problem, especially if you're doing time-sensitive products like seasonal products. You don't want to receive Christmas products in the middle of December, okay? So problem number 3 that you might run into is shipping damages. So we try to reduce the amount of human interaction with your product as much as possible, because more human interaction means more potential for breakage or damage or something going wrong. So if you can keep it in one place for the majority of the transit time, so much the better. So, shipping containers, they come in 20-foot sizes, 40-foot sizes. if you can fill up a 20-foot or 40-foot container with one product, or at least product that goes to one destination, that's great because no one has to open it up and separate all those products and then put them into separate containers, at the port of destination. So that's a problem you have to overcome if you're ordering low minimum order quantity orders. So the big companies can order a full container. Many people like yourselves don't have that luxury, at least at the start. So the fourth problem you have to overcome is kind of related to the previous one. It's the inability for Chinese factories to actually legally consolidate all of these products into one container. So even if you wanted to buy some product from one factory and other product from another factory, factory B, they actually cannot combine their product into one container and send it to you. It has to be bought by a third party, so a trading company. A trading company has to buy from factory A and factory B, and they combine the product into one container. So that can be bad news for people who want to buy directly from factories and cut out the middlemen. Problem number 4 is inspection of goods on arrival and processing claims and repackaging for FBA compliance or bundling. So this isn't especially unique to you guys. Everybody has to go through this process of receiving product and going through all these steps of making sure the product is not damaged. If it is, processing a claim with the freight forwarder, and then doing all of your repackaging and stuff. That can be a lot of work for a small business owner, and especially if you're a one-man show, you're going to have to deal with cartons and cartons and pallets, stored in your garage or some storage container, in your city. I don't know where, but it's a difficult process for many people. Problem number 6 is, I kind of covered this in the first one, but it's starting orders cold. So no previous relationship with factories. That's the majority of you. So if you don't have a relationship with a factory, you're kind of at a disadvantage compared to other buyers who might have that. So that's 6 problems that you can kind of expect. There are others that I cover in the training manual, but everybody has to deal with these. Luckily, we have solutions. We've been working for the past year on a few different solutions that we can offer members of the e-commerce business school. So I don't know if we want to get into those right now.
Yeah.
Are we gonna? Yes.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Plus, I think we're going to have time. Get an echo, to allow for some Q&A before our next speaker. So we'll allow for that as well. Those of you who are gaining this information, you may have further questions. So Robert has, put out to what those particular challenges are, and then through what we put together through our Sourcing China system, how we're overcoming all those challenges. So why don't we go ahead and dive into that? And if you have questions, jot them down and you can come up and ask after this, okay?
Okay, so yeah, and some of you heard this at ASD, and that's fine. This, for many people, I think this is new information. This is a kind of a new system that I haven't seen anybody else do, so it's kind of on the cutting edge. I don't see any other trading companies offering this service, but this is kind of a to Z process for you guys to take advantage of if you so choose. So what we're trying to do is solve the 6 problems. Okay, this is 6 in China, by the way. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So number 1, the low MOQ orders is you have to be able to get past this stage. Okay, if you can't get past this stage, you're screwed. So basically, you're having to present a business plan to Chinese vendors. You have somebody in China who can do that for you, who has established relationships, who can speak Chinese, who can understand them on a cultural level, who can sit down over dinner and explain, these are Amazon sellers, they're small businesses. Some of them have gone on to do $1 million or more in sales every year. Here's success case number 1, number 2, number 3. This product they want to buy from you, and right now it's only 100 pieces, but give us a good price on this one, and we'll be coming back, season after season. So this is something that is kind of a unique skill set that some trading companies have. I can say that I've done it a few times, that I'm capable of doing it now. So this is what we're trying to do for Amazon sellers, and we've already done it in a few cases. So problem number 2 is having a trusted partner in China. So again, this is kind of point number 1. If you're just buying off of Alibaba and you are relying on a third party who you don't know and you've never worked with before to do quality control on your order, good luck. Many people have no problem with that, but I've heard of many other cases where it's like a horror story, and people get a totally botched production, and in many cases it's because the factory just gave them a little bit of money. That's more common than you think. Factories, a quality control agent going to the factory and saying, I see there's quite a bit of problems with your product here. It'd be a shame if I told that to the customer. Do you have anything for me? It happens all the time. Even for Target, even for Walmart, I've seen it happen, and they're big orders. You get a lot of under the table stuff. So you have to have somebody that you trust in China. If you're ordering from one factory and then another factory and then another factory, you may be relying on 3 different quality control agents. It would be much better to find one quality control agent who you trust, and then can work with all 3 factories. Okay, so that's solution number 2, is to find a trusted partner in China. So the solution to problem number 3, which is the problem of combining your product with other product into one container, and therefore reducing the risk of damage during transit and problems that happen during transit, is to have a dedicated consolidation party at the port of origin, and then a dedicated separation party at the port of arrival. Now everybody can get the one at port of origin. Everybody can get a Chinese company that can combine products in China. I've never seen anybody have two companies at either end. So you can have basically under one roof have one party which is responsible for combining your orders into one container. Say it's Port of Ningbo, and then at Port of San Diego, it arrives, the container, and somebody who you trust, who you know, takes your product, separates it, maybe puts labeling on it, or repackages it with something else, and makes it FBA compliant, and then sends it off to the Amazon warehouse. You don't even touch the product. So it's all done under one roof. And this system, which we've created in the last year with one of our trainers, Josie, is the person who is responsible for the separation at the port of arrival. We're doing this for everybody so that you don't have to receive it at your home. You don't have to store stuff in your garage or repackage stuff on your own. So this is a service that we roll into the unit price.
We were giving some applause because I think that's a pretty darn big deal, because you mentioned the word trust. Here's Robert.
Yeah.
Josie's in the back of the room. We've joined them together. Very powerful.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty different experience, as some of you know, than typing up an email to a Chinese factory salesperson who barely speaks English, right? I mean, I think some of you must have already tried that. I know some of you have. It's always an interesting experience talking with a factory salesman who can the English level is not so good, and you kind of know you're always. You never know if they quite understand what you want. Even though they always say yes. Factory salespeople will always say yes. They'll say, you'll ask them a question. Now, do you know exactly what this product does? They're like, yeah, we know exactly what it does. They have no clue because they've never even seen it before. But they'll always say yes. So you kind of need to have somebody who is familiar with American products and who has used stuff before and who has shopped before in America. So that's an important factor. Okay, problem number 4, a legal entity capable of order consolidation. Okay, so that's basically what I just covered. If you have one party that can buy from multiple factories, they can combine all of those products into one container. Okay. Problem number 5 is the inspection, claims processing, and repackaging for FBA compliance. I kind of covered that. So that's all services done by Prep It, Pack It, Ship It, Josie's company. So again, hands off. You don't have to worry about your product. You don't have to even spend any time on it. All of those services, the price is rolled into the unit price. So if you have I can explain that later if we have time. Problem number 6 is starting orders safe, with built-in relationship, built-in guanxi, as they say. So if you can, have that level of trust and know who you're working with on the other end of the world, and know that, they have a success record, and that they've worked with other members in your community, which is the case. My company, Sino Sales, has worked with Eduma Ortega, Daniel and Erica Milliley, Marie Morinken, and the Thompsons, William and Candy, so far. Oh, and I'm starting to work with Jackie Akande now. So that's 5. So we're starting to have some success there. We're just getting the ball rolling on this stuff, and I think it's going to be proven to be a good system for basically it's A to Z from the very start, from a little factory in the countryside of China, all the way, from Port of Ningbo, all the way to Port of San Diego, all the way to, such and such warehouse in Middle America, to your customer's door, and you don't even touch the product. Now, there's a lot to learn about how to source product in China. I don't want to make it sound easy. There's a lot to learn about how to do this, and a lot to learn about what products to choose, which ones are safer and which ones are more risky, and we can get into that. But in this way, we kind of want to lower the barrier of entry for small business owners like you, where sourcing in China for most of history has been kind of an exclusive club for the big guys who had the resources, who had the product developers and the engineers and the designers and all of that talent and manpower that goes into buying product in China. We want to give that to you. So this is what we're trying to do, and we'd love to do business.
Robert mentioned something there about, go ahead, Gina's giving a hand. It really is an extremely unique situation. Now, Robert hit on something that I'm just going to call it a pain point for a lot of people. And when he talked about buying product, and you're maybe new to that, new to buying wholesale products, and am I buying the right product that's going to sell before I pull the trigger? Has that ever crossed anyone's mind when you're buying wholesale? I mean, you're being trained, and Okay, I'm listening to Brian, I'm listening to Josie, and you're trying to vet that product with all of Amazon's unique parameters, size, weight, there's a few parameters. Then there's another layer down, which is a filter Robert puts in place of, let's say you get through those parameters, well, that's great. Now there's parameters for it to make sense to source from China. Not every product is best suited to source from China. We got to have a fair conversation about this. So what if you could be in a situation where you are holding hands with people who walk you through the whole product vetting process, and you're learning every step of it. You're doing product research too, and so are your peers, and you're submitting those products for that possibility of being chosen and selected and vetted by our two mentors, Brian and Josie. And you get to buy into that product with them as a learning experience. It's done as a group. That's about as high-level hand-holding as I can think of. Does it make sense? So Brian and Josie walking that through, because here's the kicker of it, they're going to put money into the product too. So then you go, would they put money into a product that is just a clunker? Do you think they would? No. I don't think so either. And they vetted a lot of products. So that's something we're going to talk about later and have available to you as part of our mentorship of this system. And you want to go through that however many times you need to, have at it. Some of you will go through it once, go, wow, I can fly. I get it. It all makes sense. I've got about 10 products. And they line up with everything that Brian and Josie taught us. I'm ready to go. Some of you experienced that at ASD, right, Scott? You were there in February and away you went. Started to fly and started to place orders. And this is with sourcing from China. We have some time, so if you have any questions at all, I think Justin has the camera.
We're going to give you this microphone.
Okay.
And they have to come up to you. And you'll interview them.
Oh, and well, I won't interview you guys. But if you have any questions for Robert, specifically about, what he shared with us, anything at all? Is this a lot of information to absorb? Is it kind of where you're... But does it help you to understand better and where you're set up in a more favorable situation where maybe if you're doing it on your own, I'll tell you one thing, if you do it on your own, it's a huge time suck. That's probably the biggest part, is massive time suck. And for me, I want to get to the time. Sounds like Don here. You got a question? Awesome. Don, you were at ASD, if I remember right? Alrighty, and you probably spoke with Robert when you were there.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome.
Okay. The question I have is, if we order something that has, say, 1,000 units, and we know that all 1,000 aren't going to sell at Amazon in like a 6-month period, can we have some of that product shipped to our own location, like our house or our own warehouse?
I think that's a Josie question. Do you want to come on up, Josie, to address that? Because I think we're talking stateside. And I think what you're wanting to avoid are those, long-term storage fees that Amazon is like, get these products sold and out of here or else, right? So I don't know if you've ever had that addressed. I'll have you come and speak right in front of that camera there.
Okay, so once we have your inventory in the warehouse, we can do whatever you like with it. We can store it for you in our warehouse if you want, or we can send it over to your home if you'd prefer to do that. It's up to you.
That's pretty cool.
We're here to serve.
You have a big warehouse now.
We have a big warehouse.
So you can store them at Josie's house, so to speak, instead of at your own if you want. But
and we do have a lot of people who do that, especially when you're buying large quantities. If you, for instance, hit your storage limit at Amazon, and we've had plenty of people who have done that, we hold that inventory back and send in just the number of units that they want us to send in at the time they want us to send it in.
All righty. Thank you. All right. Yes, come on up. If it's all right. So we've got you on a live stream there, and so they can hear you.
So Rob can see you.
There you go. So Rob can see you.
Okay, you see my back, isn't that pretty? Yeah. Hey, here we go. How do you know, can you find out what manufacturer a certain company is using? You know, because I know what I buy is being made there, and I know the quality is being done well, and I want to bypass them. So,
All righty.
Does that make sense?
Did that make sense for you, Robert, the question?
Yeah, I know the question. I mean, so if you find something on Amazon, if you find something on Alibaba which looks promising, and you are concerned, oh, this might be already being sold in the United States, it's totally acceptable to ask that question of Chinese vendors or of the sourcing company that you're working with. And there's no reason for them not to be forthright with you and not say the truth about that, which is maybe they're already selling the product to such and such place, and they can't sell it to you, or maybe they can. Now, whenever they say that they can sell it to you, you always have to be a little bit careful about that, because they may not completely understand which parts of the product have been patented, if there is a patent on the product. So it's important to do your own research on the federal patent list. I don't know the official name for the list of patents that you can look up online, but it's important to do your due diligence on whether or not a product is patented, because the Chinese vendor may say, oh yeah, it's totally fine just as long as you modify it. I remember at ASD, maybe some of you remember this question that I had on the panel. I was on a panel and somebody asked the question, a Chinese vendor said that if I modify the product more than 10%, then it's going to be okay. And all of us on the panel kind of laughed at that, because it's such a vague requirement that no attorney or lawyer would even give that any thought whatsoever. Saying that you can modify a product 10% is ridiculous, but that's what some Chinese vendors apparently believe. So you can just go ahead and ask and say, who are you selling this product to? And sometimes it'll have the logo kind of permanently on the product itself. So the tooling will have the engraved logo, so you'll just know by that. But yeah, you can ask anybody and they'll tell you.
And we do have an international attorney that Robert and I got to know at ASD, who was on the panel of experts. He lived in Vietnam for 10 years, and he is coming on board our program and is a part of the Sourcing China system. So those kind of legal questions and, am I protected, all that, we are having addressed. Remember, safe and secure sourcing is what we're after, because it can get kind of, it's a different country, a different land, and we want to make sure that you're protected with your intellectual property and what you've created. Any other questions? Great time. Well, we've got Robert here from Ningbo. Yes, come on up, David. And if you can face that way, thanks.
Hi, Robert. I'm Dave Hedger. I had the impression from your presentation that there might be lot-to-lot variations in products that they made versus my earlier impression with having done a little bit of scouting on Alibaba. I had the impression that they had pallets of materials or products sitting there ready to go. And whereas if you buy a Westinghouse toaster, you expect every Westinghouse toaster to be alike, I'm getting the impression from your presentation that there might be lot-to-lot variations depending on who their customer is. In other words, they might take shortcuts. Is that a problem?
Yeah, so what you're referring to is what they call stock. If you go to a Chinese vendor and ask them, do you have stock of such and such product, you are asking them if they have product which is in their warehouse, ready-made, usually cannot be modified any further, and can just be bought in small quantities. That's a lot of what we did in EWU, the EWU trade show that we went to earlier this year. So yeah, there's a stock, and that'll be whatever they have available. You still need to inspect it to make sure that it's quality, but that's ready available. Now, do they change their production from client to client? Yes and no. I mean, if you're buying the exact same product, as you say, the toaster, there's no reason for them to, give any less attention to your toasters than the larger client, unless they are doing productions at a different time. For example, if they are producing a large lot in March, and then later on in the year, in August, when there's nothing going on, and you ask for 200 toasters or whatever, then that may be, you may be at a higher risk of quality problems. There's also just a little information about what happens at the end of the year. You have Chinese New Year, and that's in January or February. Whenever you have Chinese New Year, you have all of the factory workers go home to their hometown or whatever to celebrate the New Year. And when everybody goes back to the cities where they work, where all the factories are on the coast, a lot of times they don't go back to the same factory. They go find another factory that might pay them better, or they want to change. So the kind of the turnover rate of factory workers around the end of the year is really high. So you might have, and that's when you have that happen, factories have to retrain all of their workers all over again. So that's a problem. You have to, if you order something in late this year, let's say right now, and then you order it again in April, in April, they may have a bunch of new workers that they haven't trained to make your product. And that's where you have the quality control agents go in and make sure that they know what they're doing, do a factory audit, and inspect everything, make sure that the factory has processes in place, and make sure that you don't have a problem. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
All right, we probably have time for one more question, if anyone has anything. Any other questions? Yes, Marie. Marie was one of our June members, went to Iwu Market, kind of fell in love with the place. I do.
I just wanted to say something about Robert's company. You're only seeing Robert here. Good morning, Robert. His number one girl, Lois, is fantastic and really concerned about that you get the quality that you want, and they kind of perceive what quality Americans expect as opposed to what quality Chinese people are used to having. And they have vetted these manufacturers, they have a personal relationship with the manufacturers, and it makes all the difference in the world when you're dealing with them. I've also met the owner, Randy, who's a great person, and he wants his clients to be very happy about this process.
Yeah. Randy represents a more progressive type of business owner. He is American born. And so it's like he gets it, he understands, and he's got Guanxi, by the way. He's lived in China for 15 years, and he's given me massive Guanxi beyond what you guys can imagine. I'm not able to disclose that, but he's kind of given me the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, simply by that relationship that's through Robert, through Randy, and Randy is highly, highly connected and influential in the business circle and in the government official circle. So it's really awesome. We went out to eat as a group with Randy. Where's Candy? Right, Candy? Had a lot of fun. All right, what we're going to do next. So, Robert, I want to thank you, everyone, for, I can see, here comes someone that you might recognize, Robert.
I just wanted to say hi, Robert. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Hi, Lynn.
It's always great. I have medical professionals who come with me on the trip. Lynn is a pharmacist, and Lynn is a highly accomplished medical professional as well, so it's great to have that. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Robert. We're going to move on to our next speaker.